Thanks, Brian, for the introduction. So I'm Kristen, and this is Eve, my business partner. We are the co-owners and operators of MakeATX, which is a membership-based fabrication workshop in East Austin. This is a picture of our studio. Well, that was a picture of our studio. I hope you saw it. We are nervous. There, we have a slide. We have a slide to demonstrate our nervousness. So we thought that we would start with a boob joke, just to like loosen things up a little. Why not? So earlier this year, we were going to our first traveling craft fair, and we've always done craft fairs here in Austin where we feel very comfortable with our fellow Austinites. But we decided that we wanted to kind of spruce things up a little bit before we went to Los Angeles for the Renegade Craft Fair. And when we were doing this, we decided that it would be nice to take Square, our card processing company, up on their suggestion to fill out a profile with a little bio and to upload a photo of ourselves, and to give our account a little bit of personality. So when people received a receipt, they could link to our website, see who we are, see a picture of us. So we went ahead and did this, and we thought it would be a good way to reach out, meet new people. And it was a pretty good craft fair. We made about 100 transactions, I would say. So we sent out about 100 of these receipts. And after the weekend was over, we decided that what we were going to do was test the system. Seems natural, right? So apparently, this is the receipt that we sent to about 100 people. We gave them something to remember us by. Yeah.
So MakeATX is a laser cutting workshop in East Austin, as Kristen mentioned. We do design and production of our own line of products. And in addition to that, we help other people make their products. And we host an array of classes and events in our space. And we offer memberships to folks who are interested in doing their own laser cutting.
So when Brian asked us to speak today, naturally we seemed like good people to talk about making. Our company name is MakeATX. But we said no, we're too shy. We were really, really nervous. And we decided that we probably should do it. We needed to do the brave thing. We needed to face our fears. And today's talk isn't only about making, but it's also about the challenges related to making, the mistakes, the fear, which we're facing down right this minute, the uncertainty, but also the joy, the beauty, the triumphs of making, and why and how we do what we do. So when we were sort of composing this talk, we were nervous, and Brian knew this, and so he set us up with Ellie. And this is Ellie. She's sitting right there. She's awesome. She's the bomb, as her company name would indicate. And when we sat down to meet with Ellie, she asked us a few questions. She asked us why we make, why we do what we do, why do we make things? And that was initially kind of a difficult question for us to answer because we know we like it, but we rarely think about why. Why do we do it? So we decided that we were gonna cheat and ask our friends first. That's how we approached the problem at hand.
And it turns out our friends had some pretty fantastic answers for us. So Mary tells us that we make because we can. Meredith finds that making helps her maintain connections between mind and body. Michael finds that making he acts upon making out of a compulsion to improve his environment. Nate uses making to solve problems. And for me personally, I find that making provides an almost childlike sense of wonder and joy. And the act of really concentrating on the process of making can be almost meditative.
So one of the other questions that Ellie prompted us with was, why does making things matter? This was a really good and interesting question. So we asked our friends. And Mary, again, said it's an innovative process, trial and error, prototyping, updating. These things keep the world moving forward, which was an answer that was sort of shared among a lot of friends. These are our friends Chris and John Gray, the owners of Clayworks. And they said, if you make it yourself, you've visualized it, made it, and taken responsibility for it, you're going to do good work, because that thing is you in a way. Our friend Lori, who's also a member at our shop and a very talented artist, and sitting right there, said, evidence of the human hand. She started with these beautiful phrases. We leave a trace of ourselves in the things we make. And Brian said, art and creativity are at the foundational core of all culture. For me, I thought about this one long and hard, and I came to the conclusion that handmade things are more meaningful to both the maker and the person who receives the made object. This is a sample of something that I made quite early on in our business. It was a wedding invitation for one of my college best friends, and the woman that she found and fell in love with, Natalie. And I was just so overjoyed to be asked to do this, and it was such a meaningful thing for me that I spent so much more time than I really should have on these invitations, and I think that they were more meaningful to everyone who saw them because they'd been made by someone who knew the couple, but they were also it was a very meaningful project for me to work on. And then also, this is sort of my OCD tendency, but making things feels productive, and who doesn't like to feel productive, really?
So the third question Ellie asked us was, what are some of the universal truths about making? Jay says that without things, there would be nothings. Mary reminds us that made items have a story. And Michael says that just about every person he knows makes something, whether it's art, functional things, or some hybrid of the two. It's like we all have this amazing force inside, compelling us to alter our environment and leave our unique signature on the world. Daniela finds it to be therapeutic. And Maya enjoys the pure, simple joy that comes from holding something you've made. Brian finds that when he designs from an authentic place and really puts his heart into what he's making, that some special essence seems to get infused into his work. And I've found personally that people respond to the element of the hand and handmade. There are inevitable inconsistencies and imperfections in an object that's been created by hand. And I find that people find those things more relatable, both the person who has made the object and the person who's experiencing it. And it creates a connection between those people, even if they haven't met in person.
So after we thought about these questions, we started thinking about the trajectory of our business and our own personal experience with making. And we thought that kind of a natural follow-up question to these questions from Ellie was, what holds us back from making? Why not make? And the answer that we found for that was fear. So there are all sorts of fears related to why not make something. Fear of failure, fear that we lack the skills or the competency, fear of embarrassment, or fear that we'll burn something down or set something on fire. We live with that fear on a daily basis. Go ahead. So that question might lead you to wonder how we got started making things professionally, facing all of these fears.
So our relationship has always had making as kind of the core. And there was a fateful email in mid-2009 in which I suggested that perhaps we could get a laser cutter and see what happened. And we spent the next year or so debating about whether we could create a sustainable business from this, and creating business plans and fretting about how we would do this and if it was even possible. And then at the end of the year, we came to the conclusion that maybe we should buy a laser cutter. But we learned a lot of valuable lessons over the course of that year. And it was toward the end of that year that one of our dear friends reminded us that at a certain point, you've done a lot of planning and you just have to take action. So we learned that you can't predict the future. That there's a really good chance you're going to screw something up. We learned not to take ourselves too seriously and to have fun enjoying the process. And we decided that fear of failure is a poor excuse not to try. So we have experienced our fair share of mishaps and minor failures, I would say. Sometimes we overpack.
A lot.
Sometimes we wait until the very last minute to do things. I'd say that this presentation is an example of that. We're very, very sorry, Ben, for waiting till the last minute to get our PowerPoint to you. Sometimes we set things on fire. Sometimes we break things and have to figure out how on earth we're going to fix them. And we find ourselves tethered to a really expensive piece of equipment, hoping that we don't short something out in the process of replacing a motherboard. Sometimes things get a little tangled or messy. Sometimes we hurt ourselves, but we have to keep going. Hashtag craft fairs aren't for wimps. And we do try to laugh at ourselves, even when we find ourselves gloveless and stuck to fiberglass duct tape. So, we do a fair amount of making fools of ourselves, but we have a lot of fun in the process. And sometimes we find really creative ways to admit our mistakes. But we don't screw everything up.
No, we certainly don't. We're still in business. Woohoo! Thanks. We built our workshop, literally. This is a before picture of our space before we renovated it. And this is a photo of us building a wall that will never, ever fall down, because instead of using nails, we used screws. We wanted to make sure that thing was never going anywhere. And we even installed the door that still works. These are some pictures of us renovating. This was the arrival of Patty, Princess of Power, our first laser cutter. That was a fateful day when she walked in the door.
Kristen was very excited.
I was very excited. And we were so successful, in fact, that we bought a second laser cutter. And this is Rey El Rey de los Pew Pew arriving on our doorstep. And now Patty and Ray are pals. We are surrounded by talented members and employees and interns pretty much constantly. We've made a lot of friends along the way, some of whom are here in the audience. And we've taught hundreds of people to play with lasers. We even get new custom orders every day in spite of this. And we make fun things. We also make pretty things and pretty useful things. This is a beautiful credenza that Eve built with both lasers and traditional woodworking tools. She was featured on Apartment Therapy, and this is a photo taken by Chris Perez in her apartment on that Apartment Therapy tour. And then we have some other pretty things that we make. We also help other people make pretty things, pretty useful things. These are some business cards for an artist named Federico. You guys may know, you probably know, and you may not know that you know, all of his beautiful murals, like the Till Death Do Us Part with the heart and the skulls, and all of the beautiful illustrations all around town. So he wanted, naturally, some stencil business cards to pass out. These were the coolest groomsmen gifts we've ever seen. This guy came in and delivered these hatchets to us, and we just stared at them in awe. And then we monogrammed them and sent them on their way, but we definitely took a lot of pictures. You may know that one. And this sign was so cool that it was stolen in a craft fair. We replaced it. This is a guitar that we designed in coordination with Moniker Guitars. It's a project from one of our members, old record covers turned into folders. An installation by one of our interns at UT. And we try to make people laugh. Another success. This is our Mistaken Lyric, one of our Mistaken Lyric coasters. I hope you guys saw that. Sorry. So, yeah, there it is. Okay. Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Who am I to disagree? And then this slide is to demonstrate one of the joys of working where we work, which is the ability to take an idea from that very first initial concept to a ridiculous finished product in a matter of seconds. The ability to just roll with something and not overthink it is one of the blessings that we have every single day. We find that, as illustrated by our business plan story, we have a tendency to overthink things. And I think everyone does this. You just get stuck in your head, and you spend a lot of time analyzing what you should do and what you could do and what you might do and what maybe you shouldn't do, instead of just trying it. And so we try to have an attitude in our shop of less thinking, more doing. And it's one of our most common philosophies around the shop. Just don't overthink it, just do something. And as a result, we have what we like to call doing caps instead of thinking caps. Whenever we need to get something done, we'll put on our doing cap. So these are pictures of me and Eve throughout the years wearing a bunch of sort of ad hoc doing caps. And we would like to challenge you guys to go forward with this, to maybe, if you haven't done this before, just try it out for a week, just to try to put thinking aside and do a little bit more doing and a little bit less thinking, and just trust your instincts. Because something beautiful or absolutely hilarious, like a boob receipt, will come out of it. Thank you very much. Less thinking, more doing.